What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Football Chatbox. My name is Ryan, and welcome to the Budget Enablers video part 1. And in this video, we're going to be looking at goalkeepers and defenders as budget enablers. And in tomorrow's video, we will look at midfielders and forwards as budget enablers as well. If you are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. And before I get into it, I'll just quickly show you for those who want to see like exactly who I've watch listed and who we're going to be talking about. Goalkeepers, that's basically it. Defenders, that's basically it. Take a screenshots if you want to, and let's get straight in to the video. All right, let's start with goalkeepers. Now, let's start with 4.0 million goalkeeper options. I'll tell you right now, there aren't any. Not a single 4 million starting goalkeeper for the moment. I went and looked at all the teams who could possibly start, who could get into there. Not a single one at the moment for 4 million starting goalkeeper. So we'll have to look in the 4.5 million price bracket for the moment in terms of goalkeepers as the cheapest options available. Before I mention the keepers that I've mentioned here, let me first start with the Ipswich goalkeeper who has just been signed, Muric. He is not in the game at the moment. I've just got Walton here as a placeholder from Ipswich, but he's not in the game yet, so he's most likely going to be priced at 4.5 million as well, because Walton is being priced at 4.5 million, and Ipswich, as you can see, okay, starting first two fixtures are not great, but after that, until game week 10, they've got a really good run of fixtures, I would say, with maybe Aston Villa being the only incredibly tough team until game week 10. So Muric most likely might come in at 4.5 million. Keep an eye out for that. He will most likely be their starting keeper. If he comes in at 4 million, oh my days, you've got yourself a 4 million keeper. But for now, there aren't any. So Muric is one that I will mention. Just keep an eye out. Maybe by the time this video is out, he might have already been added to the game as well. So let's move into the other keepers. Let's start with Flecken right on top. Now, Flecken, I've added 4.5 million goalkeeper. The only thing that I should mention about Flecken is the fixtures. You can't have him as your only goalkeeper. You would probably want to rotate him with another goalkeeper, and I'll make a goalkeeper rotation / defensive rotation pairings video next week, where we can look at which goalkeepers you can rotate with, like who have good fixture rotations. So you can maybe pair Flecken with another goalkeeper, and the same thing could apply for defenders as well. So I'll look into making a video for that next week. But Flecken, really decent option at 4.5. You just need to rotate him with someone, because you can see the Liverpool fixture in game week 2, City, Spurs in game week 4 and 5, not great. But then he's got like good against Crystal Palace, Southampton, West Ham, Wolves. Not too bad in terms of a rotation option. So that's Flecken. Next up, I will go to Petrovic. Now, new manager at Chelsea. So I will add this alongside Petrovic and Sanchez. Both are being priced at 4.5 million. At the moment, I think your best bet is to monitor preseason, and we'll monitor that as well during the season. We'll look at videos and all. Monitor preseason, see who ends up becoming the number one for Chelsea. It's probably going to be Petrovic for Chelsea, but I've added both Sanchez and Petrovic here just to figure out who will be their number one, because they have a good set of fixtures. The opening until game week 7. Okay, game week 1 is hard, but after that, until game week 7, they've got a good, nice run of fixtures. So if you really want to just one keeper and you're going to look at another 4 million keeper, Petrovic is not too bad for the opening 7 fixtures. Obviously, City is a slightly tough one, but then after that, you probably might want to look to offload him either via a free transfer. Now that you have 5 free transfers, maybe you might have saved up a decent number. So now at least goalkeeper transfers can actually be a thing, to be honest, because of the amount of transfers we can save. Or if you happen to play a wild card at that time, then you could probably look to offload a Petrovic. But if you have rotational keepers, maybe you could look to avoid the Liverpool and Arsenal fixtures and maybe start Petrovic either in Newcastle or against Manchester United. So that is something to keep an eye out for. But until game week 7, at least Petrovic or Sanchez could be a good option. Just need to figure out which of the two are actually going to be starting. Talking about which of the two are actually going to be starting, let's move into the next one. Johnston for Crystal Palace. Now, I've got Johnston in here, and I've got Dean Henderson as well. Again, same thing as Petrovic and Sanchez. We kind of need to figure out who actually is going to be the main number one keeper. That again, you have to look at preseason and see who actually gets the most minutes, if the manager will come out and say. So that is something we need to have a look at. They've got a decent run, but again, this is another keeper. I think you would want to be in like a rotation pairing with another goalkeeper. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But again, Johnston, or even Henderson aren't bad options. They ended the season well as well, Crystal Palace defensively. So definitely a team to keep an eye out for in terms of goalkeeper options. We've spoken about Sanchez, Henderson. Next, final, actually last two teams. Let's go to Hermansen first, the Leicester goalkeeper. The opening run for Leicester isn't great. So I will add that straight away itself. So he's not a keeper you probably would look at. But after that, game week 5 onwards, even maybe after, let's say you went for Petrovic at the start, right? You went for Petrovic at the start, and then after game week 7, you know how I was telling you to look for another keeper. Maybe at that point, if Leicester have actually shown some defensive resilience, you can maybe look towards moving to a Hermansen as your keeper option. Or you could actually go with, I have to look at the actual like rotation pairing between the Chelsea keeper and the Leicester keeper. Maybe it might be a decent idea because you potentially, actually we can look at it right now. So the tough fixtures were game week 8 and game week 11 mainly, and game week 1. So 8, 11 and game week 1. And then you have obviously 9 and 10, which is also, it's a bit meh. Obviously, game week 1, both teams are going to have hard ones. But game week 8 for Hermansen, Mads, I'm just going to call it Mads. He's got Southampton, and game week 11, he's got United. So that's slightly a bit more harder. So it is but obviously game week 9 and 10, he's got good fixtures. So maybe there's a case to be made that he could slightly rotate with a Chelsea goalkeeper if you wanted to. So I'll add him there as well. But you can kind of wait and see as well if you wanted to like offload the Chelsea keeper and go to the Leicester keeper. That's also a possibility. So I'll add him here as well. And then the final two goalkeepers, again, from the same team, are the Forest keepers. Now, I've added Sells and Miguel in here. Now, people might have Matt Turner. I wouldn't go Matt Turner. That looks like from the Forest fans, the thoughts are that Turner isn't an option. So I've added Carlos Miguel over here. And I've also added Sells in here as well. Again, we need to see preseason who's going to be the number one keeper, because the fixtures aren't too bad. But even though the fixtures aren't too bad on paper, are Forest going to improve defensively on paper? That's another question that we kind of need to wait and see whether they'll actually improve on paper. So Nuno has a preseason to try and make them decent. Will he though? That's a different story. But monitor and see preseason who is actually the Forest main keeper. And if they look good defensively preseason, maybe it's worth a punt to go for as this is his second keeper. To rotate either with the Chelsea goalkeeper or even with maybe the Leicester keeper after. Leicester keeper could also rotate somewhat decently with this pairing. But after game week 10, you obviously might want another keeper. So yeah, that's one thing too. You probably might wildcard by that time. So you might have a different keeper selection option as well. Those are the 4.5 million goalkeepers. Let's move into the defenders, and we'll start with the 4 million defenders. First up, we've got Ben Johnson, who is currently at Ipswich. He basically rejected a new contract at West Ham to get more playing time at Ipswich. He plays the right back spot for Ipswich, and like I mentioned, opening fixtures for Ipswich 1 and 2 not great, but after that is actually a pretty decent run. If they can put on a great defensive spell with Kieran McKenna in charge, they could actually be a decent team. They've got a few 4 million options that we're going to talk about, and a 4.5 million option as well. And he could be, he's the, out of the two fullbacks that Ipswich has, he's going to be the less attacking one, We'll talk about the more attacking one later, but Ben Johnson, one to consider, right back for Ipswich. Obviously, Tuanzebe played that spot, but because Ben Johnson has basically rejected a new contract at West Ham, we're kind of expecting he's been assured minutes at Ipswich, so he will probably most likely start over Tuanzebe. Talking about Ipswich, let's move into the next Ipswich player, Jacob Greaves. Now, he is a new signing from Hull City, highly rated, and is expected to start for Ipswich as well. Definitely will come in over their other defensive option. He also had 2 goals and 4 assists in the championship. So if you're looking for a most likely definite starter, playing centre back for Ipswich, Jacob Greaves is that option. And then your other defensive pairing alongside him for Ipswich will be Luke. Less attacking. The only thing is he could have potential threat to his place, like I mentioned, Tuanzebe, who played right back last season, but could also play centre back as well. So maybe Luke might have a slight issue with that. Maybe Tuanzebe could play in that spot. But if you were looking mainly for an Ipswich defender, I would look at either Ben Johnson or Jacob Greaves in the 4 million spot. But there's a better Ipswich defender in the 4.5 million slot. We'll get to that slightly later. Let's go into another promoted team, Wout Faes. Now, if anyone watched the Euros, you would have seen he was a decent option. Obviously, ball recoveries in Euros kind of makes a difference. He is most likely going to be starting for Leicester. The only problem is I can't really confirm to you who else is going to be starting as part of Leicester's defensive options, because obviously new manager with Steve Cooper at the helm. So we have to wait and see how Steve Cooper lines up tactically. Will he line up as a back 3 or a back 4? That's something to wait and see. But Faes should be part of that defensive line regardless of which fixture it is. Only problem again, opening set of fixtures aren't great. So that's maybe something to look at after game week 5 if you're looking for a budget enabler. Move into Southampton. I've got Taylor Harwood-Bellis in there. He's been confirmed as their signing. 2 goals and 3 assists last season. The only problem with Southampton, even though the fixtures look nice somewhat on paper, they don't really keep that many clean sheets. They didn't keep too many clean sheets in the championship as well. So I'm not too kind of sold on Southampton defensively. But if you're looking for a 4 million option who will start for the Saints, here's your man. And then the final 4 million option in this list is Valentin Barco, under new manager for Brighton. So you definitely need to keep an eye out. He is a versatile player, can play left back, left wing, can play in the midfield as well. Versatile player. Opening 3 fixtures aren't great. I mean, in general, the fixtures aren't great, to be honest. If he does play out of position, maybe there's a case to be made. The other thing to mention is that Estupinan is injured till September, so there is a chance he could get into the team. But the fixtures aren't the best. Again, keep in mind, have a look at preseason, see where he actually plays. Does he get into the team and all of that? So one to keep for your watch list. Let's move in to the 4.5 million defensive bracket, shall we? 4.5 million defenders. Let's start with Anderson up there. Now, Anderson, centre back from Crystal Palace. Between the only 2 centre back options for Crystal Palace are Anderson and Mark Guehi. Both are at 4.5 million. Anderson is the more attacking out of the 2 between those 2. Again, like I mentioned, with the keepers as well, they did end the season pretty well. We'll see whether they continue the same thing. Obviously, they've lost Olise. That's a bit of a problem in attacking. Does that impact the defensive? Probably not, but we'll monitor preseason, see how they do. Fixtures are, like I said, with the goalkeepers, a mixed bag in terms of opening set of fixtures, but Anderson is not a bad option if you're looking for rotational defenders. He's not a bad option to consider. Apart from that, let's move into the other one, Robinson from Fulham. Very attacking fullback for Fulham. If anyone watched Fulham play, he is a very attacking fullback. He's most likely expected to stay at Fulham unless someone comes and signs him during the transfer window. We'll have to monitor and see. Obviously, 6 assists last season. One thing to consider with Fulham though is now obviously fixtures are nice. I would say fixtures are nice. Paulinia leaving and going to Bayern Munich could have a slight impact in terms of Fulham's chances of keeping clean sheets, and defensive stability could be a slight issue. So that again, we need to monitor preseason, see how they do defensively. But Robinson is a nice attacking fullback if anyone's looking for 4.5 from Fulham. Go to the next one, Mikalenko under Sean Dyche. If you're looking for Everton defense, Pickford is at 5, Brantford is at 5, Tarkovsky is at 5 million. Mikalenko offers a nice 4.5 million cheap route into that Everton defense. Fixtures look good on paper, to be honest. Apart from the Spurs and Aston Villa fixture, and even Newcastle, the opening 10 fixtures, those are only 3 tough teams they have. Everyone else looks pretty good. It's a Sean Dyche team. You know what you're getting. I should probably have Mikalenko in my team. Why am I not having him in? I should probably add him in. So I'll probably look to add him in, even maybe over Anderson potentially. I'll do that right now. But yeah, Mikalenko is my other option. Really good option. Sean Dyche, we know what we're getting, to be honest. Good mention in here. Let's move into Dan Burn. Newcastle. Now, Newcastle have on paper, it's a mixed bag. But if Newcastle can put on the defensive performance they did the season before they had Europe, I mean, it could be a good team. 4.5 million option. Will play centre back / left back for Newcastle. And if they obviously do decent recruitment and if they don't have injuries in defense and whatnot, Damburn could be a really good option at 4.5. At least for the start, he's a good option. I would say for the start, he's a good option. After that, you can have a look and see by game week, maybe even after game week 6, if you're looking to rotate to a different defender. It's not a bad choice. But yeah, good one to maybe start with, I would say, Dan Burn. 4.5 million. Moving to Konsa. Now, good opening run for Aston Villa. With Konsa, Arsenal tough, not great. After that, I mean, the rest of the fixtures look good. I definitely like Konsa as an option. Now, if you've noticed the bonus point changes, you would have noticed that if a defender concedes a goal, now they lose -4 on the baseline in terms of bonus. However, they've also made a change that allows a lot of attackers in terms of fouls won and shots on targets. You get an extra in terms of bonus. Konsa was the defender with the most fouls won last season. He was at about 64 fouls won or something last season. So the highest fouls won by a defender, which is very good on the bonus. If you're looking for bonus, if they tend to lose a clean sheet, I mean, you lose -4, but this guy wins so many fouls, so it's a really good option anyways. And he was in the top 10 players from the Premier League last season for fouls won. So he's definitely a really good option. Even with the recent bonus point changes that kind of affect defenders quite a bit, he might actually not be affected as much if they tend to keep clean sheets. Definitely a good option. Aston Villa, good team as well. I expect them to do well. They've signed Onana as well, looking to sign, I guess, Onana. So that should improve Aston Villa defensively as well. The only thing I'll be slightly worried about is when Champions League kicks off, how they manage rotation and whatnot with that is what I will be very interested to see, because we've seen teams in the past who haven't played Champions League football for a long time and are suddenly put into the Champions League football, and then the squad is just not ready for it. Then it's a bit of a problem. We saw Newcastle last season. So we'll kind of wait and see how that happens. But I think Konsa is still a really good player to start with in your team. And after that, you can kind of decide how Aston Villa are playing and decide whether you want to keep him or remove him somewhere about game week 8, game week 9. But really good option in your starting team at 4.5 million. Next, I should probably go to I'll go for both of the Chelsea players. Levi Colwill, I've gone at 4.5. I've also added Chalobah at 4.5 as well. Honestly, I have just added both of them. Not more like just look at these two, but I would say look at a 4.5 million Chelsea defender who will start. New manager, so we kind of uncertain on who is exactly going to play where and all of that. So keep an eye out for that. If you can figure out during preseason which 4.5 Chelsea defender is going to start. The run is there. Good opening fixture run. If they look good in preseason, definitely one to keep, maybe look at getting. Unless you're going for the goalkeeper, then that's fine. I don't know if I would double up on Chelsea defense. Maybe, but it's very hard to tell. Not the best opening fixture, but after that, the run is there until game week 7 at least. So keep an eye out for a Chelsea 4.5 million placeholder. That's what I've also done basically in my team. Let's go into the Forest team. Now, similar to the goalkeepers, I've gone for Ola Aina, who is the left back, and Nico Williams, who is the right back. Both are priced at 4.5 million. Like I said, good, decent opening fixtures. My only issue with Forest is, are they going to be defensively solid? That's the one thing I'm uncertain on. Nico Williams and Olaina, both attacking wise, are pretty good. The thing is, will they be good defensively? That's the slight problem. So that you kind of have to see how they go preseason and whatnot. If they don't look good preseason, then I wouldn't, even if they have good opening fixtures, I just probably wouldn't go there, to be honest, defensively. Let's move into, who did we miss? I've gone Nico Williams, Johnson. We spoke about Martinez from Manchester United. Now, Licha obviously was injured for most of the season. Most of last season. Came back only at the latter end. Had won the Copa America. Was really good for Argentina as well. Pictures are a bit meh on paper, but with him in the team, they should actually be better, to be honest. As a team defensively, 4.5 million. They've also signed Lenny Yoro, who is still not in the game. He might also come in at 4.5 million potentially, unless he comes in at 5. We're not really sure yet. Good option. Monitor preseason to see how United do in terms of other signings and defensively how they look as well. But I think I would probably start with Martinez as well. It looks really good in terms of fixtures. There are a few fixtures that are a bit tricky in terms of Aston Villa and Liverpool, I'll be honest. The rest I actually don't mind on paper, to be honest. So Martinez is one that I would add there. But monitor preseason, see if they've improved a bit more better. Obviously, I wouldn't look at the opening fixture that they just had, because most of the squad is still not back. So once they hit the US tour, then is when I'll probably look at their preseason form, see how they do. Let's move into Davis. Leif Davis. Now, Ipswich, like I mentioned, Ben Johnson, the less attacking fullback. Here is the more attacking fullback. He had 18 assists and 2 goals last season, alongside 15 big chances created. Incredibly attacking fullback for Ipswich. If you can avoid the first 2 game weeks, I actually don't mind starting him maybe even against Liverpool just in case. But City might be a hard one. But after that, really good fixture run until game week 10. You're looking for a 4.5, very attacking, absolutely attacking defender. This guy should be in there. Even if you're looking, for me, I'm potentially looking to maybe have, I don't know, maybe I start with like a Dan Burn, like I said. And if they don't look, I mean, I have them for the first 2, and then if I want to make a transfer, I can remove Dan Burn and move to Leif Davis as well. If I had the extra money, I might have upgraded Greaves to Davis as well. That's another option as well. But extremely attacking fullback. This guy might actually be one of the gems of this season if he does really well under Kieran McKenna and manages to produce even half the output he did in the championship. He will be a really good option for this season. Then, have I mentioned everyone else? Yes, I've mentioned everyone else. That is basically it. He was the last player. So I've mentioned everyone else that I need to mention. Again, if you're watching this and if you want to look at the names, take the screenshots. These are your goalkeepers. On this side, I'll actually increase the size of the text. These are the goalkeepers. Take a screenshot. And here's your defenders, effectively. I might have to slightly... Oh, no, I can slightly up as well. So you have Anderson on the top. And Harwood at the bottom. Take a screenshot. That's your watch list basically for budget defenders and goalkeepers in the 4 million and 4.5 million price bracket. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Did this help you in terms of shortlisting a few players? And tomorrow I'll look at midfielders and forwards as budget enablers. Price bracket might be slightly different, obviously, compared to defenders and goalkeepers. But make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's video. If you've reached up to this point, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all for tomorrow's video. Until then, peace out.